the fan without fear.
He's a completist, not a defeatist.
It's comics year after year.
Supreme comic book leader.
Fight for the justice that is blind.
An advocate, not a terminator.
With the awesome power of his mind.
He speaks for the devil in red.
This is the Fan Without Fear Completist Retrospective. My name is Nick, the Fan Without Fear. Let's take a look at what's on our radar for today. Daredevil number 5, The Mysterious Masked Matador. This issue is not a favorite of mine. It really doesn't contribute to the ongoing storyline, but it is a noteworthy issue because it's the first issue to feature art by famous illustrator Wally Wood. Wally Wood did not stay with the Daredevil book for long, but soon, in a few issues, he is going to redesign Daredevil's costume. The yellow suit that we've seen the last several issues is about to go the way of red-headed Lex Luthor, and Wally Wood will put him in the red suit that you're more familiar with, the iconic Daredevil look. Famous comics artist Jack Kirby penciled the covers for the first 5 issues of Daredevil. Here, Kirby gives us a scene with surprisingly little background detail. The man without fear is reeling before the eponymous Masked Matador and a crowd of anachronistic characters. Opening the book, we find a large personal message welcoming artist Wally Wood as the first official full-time illustrator for Daredevil. Here we see Mr. Wood is credited with already making some changes to Daredevil's yellow uniform, most notably axing the single large D in favor of the DD logo we have seen used ever since. Though not primarily known for drawing superheroes, Wally Wood contributed work to every major comics outlet in the Golden Age and is probably best remembered as a cartoonist for Mad Magazine. The title page is actually rather cluttered. Stan Lee gives us the announcement for Mr. Wood and quickly sets up our story. A newscaster exposits the Masked Matador is wanted by police for a daring one-man crime wave. Don't let this quick setup fool you. We've never been introduced to the Masked Matador before. This is the first appearance of Matador Manuel Eleganto. After this issue, the Matador rarely appears in comics, but is featured briefly in Daredevil Volume 2 during the 6-issue Playing to the Camera story arc. One of the worst comic stories I've ever read. But we have a lot of ground to cover before we get to that one. With his power to be a matador, Eleganto throws his cape in front of an armored car's windshield, causing the truck to crash. DD arrives to stop the robbery in progress, but is distracted by a painter, coincidentally falling from a scaffold at the same time. Matt Murdock makes saving the civilian his priority over beating up a bad guy. This value for protecting human life is a key superhero trait. We recently saw this same style of heroics successfully adapted on the big screen in the Avengers Age of Ultron movie, which was probably conceived in response to the mixed reception to Zack Snyder's Man of Steel movie. After allowing the Matador to escape, Matt returns to his office. Foggy is scheduled to take Karen on a date to a costume party, but now has to work late and asks Matt to escort the young lady to the party until he can join them. Despite his secret feelings for Karen, Matt agrees to take her to the party until his friend can arrive for a date. Apparently, New York City is a smaller town than I've been led to believe, because the Masked Matador is also at the same party, moving freely among the costume crowd in his mask and gaudy clothes. Even though the Matador is opening a wall safe in plain view of everyone at the party, Matt's super senses make him the first person to notice the villain. Since Matt's senses were a secret to everyone, including Karen Page, he needed to find a way to draw everyone's attention to the wall safe. In a moment of what seems to be unintentional comedy, Matt settles upon loudly announcing, hypothetically, that if the Masked Matador were around, he could totally rob a wall safe. The partygoers take notice and rush the Matador, but his skill allows him to easily dodge and evade their attacks. Karen encourages Matt to hide for his own safety, and quickly Daredevil emerges. All of the crowd noise and erratic movement confuses Matt's radar. We're even treated to a diagram to better explain how the radar works and how it can be overloaded with too much sensory information. This problem will remain fairly consistent through the next 5 decades of Daredevil comics. Matt often cites this problem with crowds in his reluctance to work with a partner or even be recruited by groups like the Avengers. Through each of their encounters, the Matador taunts Matt quite a bit by comparing him to a bull and calling him Toro. But strangely, no one ever mentions that the hero literally has horns on his head, like a bull. DD makes more than one attempt to leap and tackle the Matador, but is ultimately defeated in front of the entire party. The very public defeat only improves the Matador's reputation as he begins pulling off more daring crimes, including robbing a burglar alarm company and taking their alarm. Public opinion of Daredevil, who is still the newest hero on the block, has struck an all-time low, and Matt's personal life is also falling apart. Matt's best friend shares plans to ask Karen Page to become Mrs. Foggy Nelson. Burying himself in his nightlife, Matt researches the disappearance of famed Spanish matador Manuel Eleganto, who was incredibly talented but hated even by fans of bullfighting for his brutality. Distracted by yelling back at the crowd's boos and jeers, Eleganto was gored by a bull and was never seen again. Convinced this Eleganto is the masked matador currently in the United States, Matt hatches a plan to trap his new enemy. Armed with his knowledge of the matador's true identity, Matt Murdock holds a press conference and announces a belief that the Matador and the adventurer Daredevil must be one and the same. In the context of the story, why would Matt discredit both Daredevil and Matt Murdock all with the same unnecessary lie? Even Foggy is mad about how bizarre the statement is and how bad it makes the firm look. And here, in the context of real life, why is Stan Lee ripping himself off? This story element is just like the time Peter Parker faked photographic evidence of Electro being Spider-Man to sell to Jonah Jameson. But at least in that story, Peter really needed the money. At any rate, the plan does work. The news coverage causes the Matador to break into the law office, where he finds Daredevil sitting at Matt's desk like the Kingpin, who hadn't been created yet. During an extended action sequence, Hornhead finally succeeds in leaping into the air like Raiden from Mortal Kombat and tackling the masked Matador. Daredevil's reputation is restored, and Matt Murdock shrugs off his weird news conference, saying it was only an opinion. We're going to look at a lot more Silver Age Daredevil, so make sure you don't miss any new releases from the Fan Without Fear Completist Retrospective. Subscribe, like, and give us some feedback. Leave a comment or tweet us. Until next time, always live without fear.